You know that feeling, right? It's late. Way too late. The world outside has finally gone quiet, settling into a deep, comforting hum. But your mind? Oh, your mind is throwing an epic, uninvited party. And it's playing the same 3 anxiety-inducing tracks on a loop, at maximum volume. Your eyes are fixed on the ceiling, or maybe just staring into the dimness, but your internal world is anything but calm. You're meticulously replaying that conversation from earlier today, dissecting every pause, every awkward word, every subtle glance. Did I sound stupid? Should I have said something else? What did they really think when they made that face? It's a relentless internal cross-examination, an endless game of mental what-ifs and should-haves, where you're both the prosecutor and the eternally guilty defendant. The burden of past interactions feels overwhelmingly present. Or maybe your mental projector has switched to tomorrow's potential disasters. The impossible deadline looming, the intimidating meeting with your boss, the mountain of tasks that feels utterly insurmountable. You're pre-worrying, pre-failing, pre-stressing about every single potential pitfall. What if you forget something crucial? What if you mess up that presentation? What if you're just not good enough to handle it all? Your brain isn't just anticipating, it's actively creating the stress of a future that hasn't even arrived, drowning out any hope of restful sleep. The silence of the night, which should be a balm, instead feels like an amplifier, turning every intrusive thought into a deafening roar. You know you desperately need sleep. You crave that sweet oblivion. But your mind, your own mind, has declared war on your peace, holding you captive in its relentless loop. Does this relentless, sleepless mental hamster wheel sound familiar to you? That constant hum of worry, the endless loop of analysis, the feeling of being perpetually stuck in your own head, watching your thoughts like a passenger on a runaway train. If you're nodding right now, if a deep sigh just escaped your lips, then please know this: you are absolutely, unequivocally, not alone. Millions of us are caught in this exact same trap, feeling like our own minds, our own internal narratives, are holding us hostage. It's a silent struggle, often happening behind closed doors, in the quiet solitude of our own heads. But trust me, the echoes of that struggle are loud and clear across our shared human experience. This isn't some rare personal failing, it's a pervasive modern epidemic. It drains our energy, hijacks our focus, and subtly, insidiously, diminishes our joy. It makes simple decisions feel monumental, and quiet moments feel anything but peaceful. It steals our sleep, our clarity, and ultimately, our fundamental sense of control. For years, I felt that way too. Trapped in a maze of my own making, convinced my overactive brain was just how I was wired, and that there was no escape. But through a deep dive into how our minds actually work, insights I've refined and distilled from years of research and personal practice, I've discovered something truly transformative. This isn't just the way you are or an unchangeable fate that you have to accept. There are incredibly powerful, practical, and surprisingly accessible strategies to step off that relentless hamster wheel, to quiet the incessant noise, and to reclaim your precious mental space. This isn't about ignoring your thoughts or pretending problems don't exist. It's about fundamentally changing your relationship with your thoughts, developing a new kind of mental agility, a quiet resilience that allows you to observe your mind without being consumed by its every whim. It's about understanding the core mechanics of your own brain and learning how to gently, yet firmly, guide it back to where you want it to be. The wisdom I've gathered has been a profound game changer for me, revealing a clear, actionable path out of the overthinking labyrinth. And that's precisely what this video series is designed to help you achieve. My ultimate goal for you, by the end of our time together, is to equip you with the specific tools, the deep understanding, and the unwavering confidence to truly master your own mind. To take back undeniable control from those overactive, anxious, looping thought patterns. To shift from being a passive passenger in your own head to the active, conscious pilot of your inner world. Imagine, truly imagine, a night where your thoughts don't dictate your sleep, where your pillow becomes a haven instead of a battleground. Imagine a day where decisions don't lead to analysis paralysis, where you can move forward with clarity and intention. Imagine a life where you feel present, calm, and utterly in command of your mental landscape, able to navigate challenges with grace, That's the profound promise we're chasing together. We're going to explore how to interrupt those destructive loops, how to gently challenge those persistent worries, and how to cultivate a mind that serves you, that empowers you, rather than endlessly enslaving you. It's about achieving true mental liberation, turning your mind from a source of endless stress into your most powerful, unwavering ally. I remember one particular afternoon, vividly, where this mental battle truly crippled me. I had a significant client presentation, coming up something I'd poured weeks of intense effort and creative energy into. But instead of confidently refining my slides or meticulously rehearsing my delivery, I found myself completely paralyzed. My mind was caught in a relentless, self-sabotaging loop. What if I forget my key points? What if they think my ideas are completely off base or even stupid? What if I stumble over a critical word and lose their trust? What if, ultimately, I'm just not good enough to handle this level of responsibility? It wasn't just a healthy dose of nervous energy, it was a full-blown mental siege, an internal monologue of self-doubt that felt impossible to escape. I spent hours staring blankly at my laptop screen, achieving absolutely nothing concrete, feeling a crushing, suffocating weight of inadequacy pressing down on me. That single, agonizing experience, among countless similar ones, showed me firsthand the insidious, destructive power of unmanaged thoughts. It wasn't the presentation itself that was the true enemy that day, it was my own mind, running wild and unchecked, actively undermining my potential. I realized then, with stark clarity, that if I ever wanted to truly thrive, to create meaningful work, to connect authentically with others, and to simply exist without constant internal turmoil, I had to learn how to actively tame that overwhelming beast within. And that's precisely why mastering our minds isn't just some trending self-help buzzword or a fleeting ideal. It's a fundamental, indispensable skill, perhaps the most critical one for navigating the inherent complexities and relentless demands of modern life. Think about it for a moment. Our happiness isn't primarily dictated by external circumstances as much as it is by our interpretation and reaction to those circumstances. Our productivity isn't solely about sophisticated time management apps or rigid schedules. It's fundamentally about focus management, about strategically preventing our minds from derailing our most important efforts with endless distractions, unproductive internal debates, and speculative anxieties. And true, lasting peace. That often elusive state comes not from an absolute absence of problems or challenges, but from the profound ability to remain calm, centered, and resilient amidst them, to consciously choose how we react, to deliberately choose what thoughts we allow ourselves to entertain and amplify. When our minds are allowed to constantly overthink, to rehashing past mistakes, to endlessly catastrophizing future scenarios, we inevitably lose control of our precious present moment. Our emotional state becomes volatile, and ultimately, we lose agency over the trajectory of our very lives. It relentlessly drains our vital energy, stifles our innate creativity, and gradually erodes our hard-earned confidence. Learning to consciously guide our thoughts, rather than being passively dragged along by their whims, is, in my firm belief, the ultimate liberation. So, what specifically does this enlightening journey from mental clutter to profound clarity look like for us today? Throughout this video, we'll systematically break down the entire process into actionable, digestible insights that you can truly grasp and implement. We'll start by gaining a deeper understanding of what overthinking actually is at its core and, crucially, why our brains are wired to do it, because, as you know, knowledge is always power. Then, we'll immediately dive into a robust set of practical strategies for interrupting those destructive thought patterns in their tracks, before they gain momentum. We'll meticulously explore effective techniques for regaining precise control of our wandering focus and cultivating a more present, intentional, and calm mindset, even in the midst of daily chaos. You're not just going to get abstract theory here, I promise. I'm laying out a truly practical, step-by-step action plan, a clear sequence of implementable steps you can start integrating into your life immediately to quiet the incessant noise. By the end of our time together, you'll possess a clear roadmap and a powerful toolkit to confidently begin your own personal transformation towards mental mastery. Each forthcoming section will offer concise key summaries and actionable takeaways, meticulously ensuring you leave this video not just with fleeting inspiration, but with concrete, durable tools you can apply daily. My ultimate goal is to genuinely equip you to step decisively off the exhausting hamster wheel of endless rumination and step powerfully into a life where you are the conscious, deliberate master of your own expansive mental landscape. In this first chapter, we're going to shine a bright light on it, define it, understand its mechanics, and really get to grips with what we're up against. Because here's the thing everyone thinks: we need to think to navigate the world, to plan, to create. So, where's the line? When does healthy, productive self-reflection morph into this destructive spiral we dread? The key distinction, I've found, lies in its outcome. Healthy reflection serves a purpose. It's a journey with a destination. You reflect on a situation, gather insights, learn lessons, and ideally, move forward with a clearer path or a revised strategy. It's an active process of understanding and adapting. Overthinking, on the other hand, is a journey without a map, without a goal, without a true endpoint. It's the brain getting stuck in a loop, replaying scenarios, dissecting conversations, forecasting potential disasters, all without ever landing on a solution or a decision. It's thinking about something endlessly, rather than thinking to a solution. Let's talk about the mechanics for a moment in simple terms. Our brains are incredibly complex, constantly trying to make sense of the world and keep us safe. When we encounter uncertainty or a perceived threat, be it a social interaction that went sideways or a looming deadline, our brain can kick into overdrive. There's a neural network, often referred to as the brain's default mode network, which is highly active when our minds are wandering, reminiscing, or contemplating the future. This network, while crucial for creativity and planning, can also become the engine of the rumination loop. It's like a record player with a scratched vinyl. The needle just keeps hitting the same groove, playing the same distorted fragment over and over. Instead of engaging the problem-solving parts of our brain that seek new information, weigh options, and make a call, the overthinking brain gets fixated on analyzing the existing information, often with an emotional charge. This triggers a stress response, flooding our system with cortisol and adrenaline, making us feel anxious, agitated, and even more stuck. It's a survival mechanism gone rogue, constantly scanning for threats that aren't immediately present, trapping us in a cycle of worry and analysis that provides no real solutions, only more distress. So, how does this differ from productive problem solving? Imagine you have a complex task at work. Productive thinking involves breaking it down, identifying steps, gathering resources, perhaps brainstorming solutions, making a choice, and then acting. It's linear, purposeful, and moves towards an outcome. Overthinking about the same task, that might look like endlessly considering every tiny detail that could possibly go wrong, questioning your own capabilities, imagining negative feedback, or rehashing similar past failures, all without ever starting the task itself. One leads to action, the other to inaction. And this beast of overthinking generally manifests in two primary forms, like two sides of a coin, both equally adept at pulling us away from the present moment. The first is rumination about the past. This is when your mind gets caught in an endless loop of replaying past events, conversations, perceived mistakes, or missed opportunities. You're dissecting what-ifs and should-haves, drowning in regret or self-blame. It's an attempt to change history, which is, of course, impossible. Yet, our brains insist on trying. You're trapped in a mental movie theater, endlessly watching replays of events you can no longer influence, just reliving the pain or discomfort. The second form is chronic worrying about the future. This is the art of catastrophizing, envisioning every possible negative outcome, meticulously planning for disasters that haven't happened and likely never will. What if I fail? What if they don't like me? What if everything falls apart? You're constantly attempting to predict and control an unpredictable future, leading to immense anxiety and a pervasive sense of dread. Both forms, past rumination and future worrying, steal your presence, your peace, and your energy. The direct, often paralyzing consequence of this constant mental churn is something many of us are intimately familiar with: analysis paralysis. This is when you've gathered so much information, considered so many angles, weighed so many pros and cons, that the sheer volume of data, combined with the fear of making the wrong choice, completely prevents you from making any choice at all. It's the ultimate paradox. The more you try to analyze your way to perfect clarity, the more stuck you become. You have a dozen tabs open in your mental browser, each one screaming for attention, and you end up clicking none of them. Opportunities are missed, decisions are postponed indefinitely, and life feels like it's happening to you, rather than you actively participating in it. Understanding this distinction, these forms, and the core mechanics of overthinking is the first crucial step in mastering your mind. It's defining the enemy not to fear it, but to understand its patterns, its weaknesses, and ultimately, how to disarm it. We're not aiming to stop thinking, we're aiming to stop the unproductive, destructive loops that steal our joy and our agency. And with this clear definition in hand, we're ready to start building our toolkit for taking back control. Alright, so we've talked about what overthinking feels like, that constant mental hum. Now, here's where we shift from passive experience to active investigation. I want you to become a thought detective. And every good detective knows, the first step isn't solving the crime, it's understanding when and where the crime occurred. For us, that means identifying your triggers. This is where the real work and the real power begins. Because you can't change something you don't even realize is happening until you're already neck deep in the quicksand of your thoughts. My challenge to you, starting today, is to become a mindful observer of your own mind. Think of it like a smoke detector for your thoughts. You want to notice the very first wisp of mental smoke, not wait until the whole house is engulfed. How do you do that? It's about tuning in. What's the situation you're in? Who are you with? What specific feeling precedes that familiar rush of what ifs or I should haves? Maybe it's a tightness in your chest, a sudden clenching in your jaw, or that subtle shift in your mental landscape where things just start to feel heavy. Don't judge it, just notice it. It's like taking a snapshot of your internal state at the exact moment the overthinking engine kicks into gear. Now, while your triggers are unique to you, I've found there are some universal ones that hit most of us. Understanding these can give you a head start in your detective work. First up, ambiguity. Oh, our brains hate the unknown. That job offer that hasn't come through, the vague text from a friend, an uncertain future plan. When information is incomplete, our minds often rush to fill in the blanks, usually with worst-case scenarios. Then there are high-stakes decisions. Whether it's a career move, a relationship choice, or a significant financial decision, the pressure to get it right can paralyze us. We replay scenarios, analyze every tiny detail, agonizing over potential outcomes, all in a futile attempt to predict the unpredictable. And finally, social anxiety or the fear of evaluation. Meeting new people, public speaking, receiving feedback, or even just posting something online. The fear of judgment or rejection can send our minds spiraling into an endless loop of self-criticism and worry about what others think. Do any of these sound familiar to you? Because they sure hit home for me sometimes. So, how do we start to map these out systematically? I've got a simple exercise for you, a truly powerful one. Create a trigger log. Grab a notebook or use a simple app, and for the next few days, I want you to do this when you feel that familiar tug of overthinking. Pause 1. Note the situation, what just happened. Where were you? Who was involved? Be specific. My boss called me into his office. I saw an old friend post about their promotion on social media. I was trying to decide what to cook for dinner too. Note the feeling, what emotion arose in that moment. Was it anxiety, fear, frustration, inadequacy, embarrassment? Identify the core feeling. 3. Note the first looping thought. This is crucial. What was the very first sentence, the initial question, the core worry that began the spiral? What if I'm getting fired? I'm falling behind everyone else. What if I pick the wrong recipe and ruin dinner? Do this consistently, even for just a few days. You'll be amazed at the patterns that emerge. You'll start to see a blueprint of your overthinking mind. And here's the deeper insight, the real magic of this process. These external triggers, the ambiguity, the high stakes, the social situations, they're not just random events that cause overthinking. They often act as a spotlight, illuminating our internal core beliefs. Think of it this way: the external situation is the hand knocking on the door, but it's the internal belief that makes you jump. For example, maybe ambiguity triggers you because you have a core belief that I need to be in control to be safe. Or maybe social anxiety hits hard because you unconsciously believe I'm not good enough, and people will inevitably see that. The trigger isn't the problem itself, it's the messenger revealing a deeper, often unexamined assumption you hold about yourself or the world. Recognizing these links is incredibly empowering. It takes the abstract concept of overthinking and makes it tangible. You're no longer battling a vague enemy, you're identifying specific points of attack and, more importantly, understanding why those attacks hit home. This isn't about blaming yourself for these beliefs, it's about understanding the hidden wiring of your mind. And once you understand the wiring, you can start to rewire it. So, grab that notebook. Become the detective. Your journey to regaining control starts with this crucial step. For years, I believed a lie. A really insidious, comfortable lie that many of us cling to without even realizing it. And it's this: that if I just thought about something enough, if I could predict every angle, every potential pitfall, I could control it. That overthinking was my superpower, my shield against the chaos of the world. It felt like I was being responsible, preparing, strategizing. But what it really was, what it always is an illusion. A very convincing one, yes, but an illusion nonetheless. And understanding this, truly internalizing it, is one of the most liberating shifts you can make. This isn't some new age fluff, this is ancient wisdom refined over millennia. The Stoics, brilliant thinkers who wrestled with the very same human anxieties we do today, gave us something incredibly powerful: the dichotomy of control. They simply asked, what is truly within my control, and what is not? It sounds deceptively simple, right? But the implications, the profound clarity it offers, are staggering. In essence, there are things we can directly influence: our thoughts, our actions, our responses, our efforts. And then there are things completely outside our sphere of influence: other people's opinions, the weather, past events, future outcomes, the economy, global pandemics, random chance. This isn't about giving up. It's about radically recalibrating where we choose to invest our precious mental energy. And here's where overthinking absolutely devours us. It tricks us into believing that by replaying scenarios 1,000 times, by agonizing over every possible outcome, by trying to foresee every single twist and turn, we're actually doing something productive. We're controlling it. But what we're really doing is trying to grab onto clouds, to micromanage the universe. We're attempting to control the uncontrollable, and it's a futile, exhausting exercise that leaves us feeling drained, anxious, and utterly powerless. It's like trying to steer a ship by staring intently at the waves instead of grabbing the rudder. So, let's try something right now, together. This is a powerful mental exercise, and all you need is your mind. Pick one thing that's currently bothering you, one worry that keeps circling your thoughts, perhaps something you've been overthinking. Maybe it's a difficult conversation you need to have, a looming deadline, a financial concern, or a health worry. Got it? Now, I want you to mentally, or if you can, physically grab a piece of paper and a pen. Create 2 simple lists. On one side, title it "In My Control." On the other, title it "Not in My Control." Take a moment. For that specific worry, start filling in the "In My Control" list. What specific actions can you take? What thoughts can you choose to entertain or reject? What preparation can you do? What boundaries can you set? What effort can you apply? Be specific. For instance, if it's a difficult conversation, your list might include my tone of voice, my choice of words, my preparation of key points, my ability to listen, my decision to remain calm. Now, look at the "not in my control" side for the same worry. What falls into that category? This might include how the other person reacts, their mood, the weather on the day of the event, past events leading up to this, the ultimate outcome of the conversation, whether they agree with me. As you do this, you might feel a shift. The sheer clarity of it is often startling. All that mental energy you've been pouring into the "not in my control" list, it becomes starkly visible as wasted effort. The overwhelming feeling of being stuck often comes from focusing too intensely on things you simply cannot change, rather than empowering yourself with the things you absolutely can. The true power, the actual framework for focusing your mental energy, isn't in trying to control outcomes. It's in recognizing that your domain of influence lies almost entirely in your responses, your actions, and your inner world. You cannot control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. You cannot control the game, but you can control how you play it. This shift, from obsessing over what will happen to rigorously focusing on what you will do, is the cornerstone of regaining genuine control over your mind. It allows you to consciously redirect that valuable mental bandwidth from futile worry to purposeful action. It's not about ignoring problems, it's about engaging with them intelligently, strategically, and effectively, by channeling your energy where it actually makes a difference. And that, my friends, is where true peace, true productivity, and true resilience reside. We're not trying to stop thinking. We're learning to think better, to think smarter, to think where it actually counts. Now for your very first practical tool. Think of it as an emergency anchor, stopping your mind from drifting into endless what-ifs and should-haves, and planting it firmly in the present. This isn't just about feeling better, it's about regaining control. This anchor is what we call mindfulness. Mindfulness, a word often misunderstood, is simply this paying attention, on purpose, without judgment. That's it. It's not about emptying your mind or achieving some blissful state. It's bringing your awareness to what's happening right here, right now as it happens, and observing it without getting tangled in your reactions to it. It's the direct antidote to overthinking, which by nature fixates on a past that's gone or a future that hasn't arrived, often with judgment. To illustrate, let's try something for a minute. You can close your eyes if comfortable or keep them open. Settle in. Feel your body, notice your posture. Now bring attention to your breath. Don't change it, just notice it. Feel air entering your nostrils or mouth, the slight coolness on the inhale. Follow it down to your chest, your belly. Feel your belly gently rise and fall with each breath. If your mind wanders don't get frustrated. Gently, without judgment, guide your attention back to your breath. Observe it like a gentle current up and down, in and out. Just a few more breaths. Feel that anchor, that connection to this moment. When you're ready, gently open your eyes or return your attention to the screen. Even 60 seconds can make a difference. That simple act of focusing on your breath is an incredible anchor. It pulls you out of thought's swirling vortex into the tangible, undeniable reality of your body, right here, right now. This isn't escaping thoughts, it's shifting your relationship with them, giving you a different place to stand. Now, sometimes, overthinking escalates into anxiety or panic. When your mind races and the breath anchor feels too subtle, we need something more immediate to ground you. This is the 5-4-3-2-1 sensory grounding technique. It brilliantly forces your brain to engage with your immediate physical environment, hijacking overthinking circuits with sensory input. Here's how you do it. First, name 5 things you can see. Observe their color, texture, details. E.g., your blue mug, wooden desk, window dust, screen glow, shirt pattern. Next, 4 things you can feel: your feet on the floor, clothes, warm hands, phone's smoothness. Then, 3 things you can hear: computer hum, outside traffic, your breathing, birds. Really listen. Next, 2 things you can smell: coffee, laundry, even just the air. Finally, 1 thing you can taste: lingering meal, tongue against teeth, or subtle mouth taste. By then you'll feel a significant shift. Your mind, lost in mental constructs, is now rooted in sensory reality. These tools, anchor, breath, and 5-4-3-2-1, are powerful. Crucially, mindfulness is a muscle. You wouldn't expect to be strong from one gym visit, right? It's the same with your mind. Consistent practice pulling attention to the present strengthens this mindfulness muscle. It's not about eliminating thoughts, they'll always arise. It's changing your relationship with them. Instead of being swept, you learn to observe currents from shore. Recognize when your mind drifts and gently guide it back. Don't judge failures, that is the practice. Each time you notice wandering and return, you're doing a rep, strengthening that muscle. Start small. A minute here, a minute there. Use 5-4-3-2-1 when overwhelmed. Consistency, not perfection, is key. So, your first practical tools for anchoring in the now. These aren't just nice, they're foundational for dismantling the overthinking habit. Next chapter, we'll dive deeper into observing thoughts without letting them run the show. For now, try these techniques. Make them part of your day. Your mind will thank you. Think about that for a moment. Just because you have a thought does not mean you are that thought. It doesn't mean you have to believe it, act on it, or even give it more than a fleeting moment of your attention. This distinction, subtle as it sounds, is absolutely monumental. For years, I, like many of you, was a prisoner in my own head. Anxious thoughts, self-doubt, catastrophizing scenarios they felt like absolute truths. They dictated my mood, my decisions, even my physical sensations. It was exhausting. It felt like my brain was a runaway train, and I was tied to the tracks. But then, I stumbled upon this idea, this radical concept of cognitive diffusion, and it changed everything. Imagine you are the vast, boundless sky. Not just a small patch of sky, but the entire infinite expanse. Now picture thoughts as clouds. They drift in, don't they? Some are dark and ominous, threatening rain. Some are light and fluffy, resembling animals or objects. Some are dense, obscuring the sun. Others are wispy, barely there. These clouds move across your sky. They appear, they shift, they eventually drift away. Does the sky ever become the clouds? Does a stormy cloud fundamentally alter the nature of the sky? No. The sky remains the sky, vast, unchanging, simply observing. It allows the clouds to pass, without judgment, without resistance, without identifying with them. It knows they are temporary visitors. You, my friend, are the sky. Your thoughts are just the clouds. They are phenomena passing through the expansive space of your consciousness. They are not you. They do not define you. They do not have to control you. So, how do we start to create that crucial space, that vital separation between ourselves and these sometimes overwhelming mental visitors? It's simpler than you might think, and it's remarkably effective. The technique I want to share with you today is called labeling, and it's incredibly powerful. When you notice a difficult, intrusive, or anxious thought popping up, instead of getting swept away by its content, I want you to try adding a simple phrase to it. I am having the thought that, let's say you're sitting there, and a familiar anxious thought bubbles up, something like, I'm going to fail at this presentation. In the past, you might have immediately spiraled into a whole narrative of self-doubt, fear, and physical tension. Your heart races, your palms sweat, your stomach churns. You're in the thought, believing it. But with this new technique, you acknowledge it differently. You observe it. You say to yourself, either out loud or in your head, I am having the thought that I'm going to fail at this presentation. Do you feel the shift? Even a slight one? When you add I am having the thought that, you're no longer saying I am going to fail. You're creating a tiny but mighty distance. You're stepping back from the content of the thought and observing it as an object, a mental event, something that your mind is producing. You're not buying into it hook, line, and sinker. This isn't about denying the thought's existence. It's not about trying to forcibly stop it, because we all know how well that works. It's about changing your relationship with it. It's like watching a movie instead of being a character in it. You see the drama unfold, but you know it's not your reality. And here's the magic: this detachment, this simple act of labeling, effectively robs anxious thoughts of their emotional fuel. Think about it. Anxious thoughts, fearful thoughts, they thrive on our belief. They gain power when we identify with them, when we treat them as undeniable truths about ourselves or our future. Our emotional system kicks into gear because it perceives these believed thoughts as genuine threats. But when you say, I am having the thought that, you're essentially telling your brain, hold on a second. This is just a thought. It's not necessarily a fact. It's not a command. It's just mental chatter. And when you stop feeding that thought with your belief and identification, its ability to trigger that intense emotional response starts to wane. It's like blowing on a fire. If you blow on a small ember, it might flare up. If you stop blowing, it eventually fades. Your belief and identification are the breath that keeps the fire of anxiety burning. This technique is like stepping back and letting the embers cool. The thought might still appear. The cloud will still drift across your sky, but its power over you is diminished. It no longer has the same emotional pull, the same ability to hijack your nervous system. You begin to experience your thoughts as what they truly are: fleeting mental events, not absolute truths, not commands, and certainly not the entirety of who you are. Practice this, my friends. Start small. The next time a worrisome thought emerges, just pause. Notice it. And then, gently, firmly, Remind yourself I am having the thought that you'll be amazed at the freedom and control this simple practice can bring. You are not your thoughts. You are the sky. And the sky, my friend, is always clear, no matter what clouds pass through. You know that feeling, right? That loop of worry, that automatic negative assumption that just keeps playing in the background of your brain. It feels so real, so undeniable, because it's your thought. But here's the thing, just because a thought pops into your head, doesn't make it a fact. Often these thoughts are like unchecked witnesses, giving testimony without any cross-examination. So, here's my challenge to you, and it's a simple, yet profoundly effective CBT framework that I've adopted. The next time you catch yourself spiraling into a particularly sticky, recurring negative thought, maybe it's, I'm going to fail this important presentation, or they're definitely judging me, or I'll never be good enough, I want you to literally put that thought on trial. You are now the prosecuting attorney, and the defense attorney, and the judge. Your first critical question, the one that cuts through the noise, is this: what's the evidence for this thought? I mean real, tangible, observable evidence. Not a feeling, not a hunch, not a past mistake, but concrete proof in the present moment. If your thought is, I'm going to fail this presentation, what's the evidence? Have you not prepared? Do you consistently freeze up every single time? Or is it just a feeling of anxiety? Often, when you ask this, you find the evidence is pretty thin, or entirely absent. It's a gut feeling masquerading as a fact. Once you've scrutinized the evidence, your second critical question is, what's a more balanced, or even alternative, view of this situation? This is where we start to reframe, to loosen the grip of that absolute negative. Let's take a common thought pattern I used to fall into, something called catastrophizing. This is where your mind takes a small potential issue and rapidly escalates it into the worst possible, often highly improbable, disaster. Imagine you send an email with a typo. Your mind might instantly jump to, oh my God, I look so unprofessional. My boss will think I'm careless. I'll get fired. My career is over. See how that went from a typo to total career annihilation in about 2 seconds flat. That's catastrophizing in action. It's like your internal alarm system is stuck on global thermonuclear war when someone just sneezed. Now, let's walk through reframing that specific worry. Step 1. Identify the core negative thought. I sent an email with a typo, now I'm going to get fired and my career is over. Step 2. Apply the what's the evidence? Test. Is there any evidence that one typo, on its own, has ever caused someone to be fired in your company, or that your boss suddenly thinks you're incompetent based on this single error, rather than your overall track record? Usually, the answer is a resounding no. It's an inconvenience, maybe a slight embarrassment, but not a career ender. Step 3. Apply the what's a more balanced view. Test. A more balanced view might be people make typos. It's a human error. Most likely, my boss will barely notice, or just correct it internally without a second thought. My performance is judged on a multitude of factors, not just one email. Step 4. Craft the reframe. Instead of the catastrophic thought, let's create something neutral or action-oriented. Neutral reframe. I made a minor typo in an email. It's not ideal, but it's a common human error and unlikely to have significant consequences. Action-oriented reframe. I made a typo. I'll proofread more carefully next time, or maybe even set up a quick spell check reminder before sending. Notice the shift. We've moved from an emotional, absolute, destructive narrative to something objective, proportional, and even empowering. We're not saying the typo didn't happen, or that you shouldn't care about your work. We're simply challenging the meaning your mind is attaching to it. We're replacing the catastrophizing with realism and problem solving. This isn't about positive thinking in a superficial way, where you just slap a happy face on a bad situation. It's about accurate thinking. It's about becoming a critical consumer of your own thoughts, rather than a passive recipient. It's a mental muscle you build, and the more you practice these questions, the more naturally you'll start to challenge your mind's often dramatic pronouncements. Start small, pick one recurring thought this week, and put it on trial. You might be surprised by how often your mind's evidence crumbles under scrutiny. This process, this active cross-examination, is your pathway to regaining control over your internal narrative. See, our brains are ancient marvels, wired for survival. For our ancestors, constantly scanning the horizon for predators or impending famine wasn't overthinking, it was essential for staying alive. This hardwired mechanism is what psychologists call the negativity bias. Our brains are inherently more attentive to potential threats and negative outcomes than they are to positive ones. It's like our internal alarm system is set to super-sensitive, always on the lookout for danger, even when that danger is an imaginary lion in your modern-day cubicle. The what-if monster isn't trying to be cruel, it's just your prehistoric brain trying to protect you, but it's often wildly overzealous and out of sync with current reality. Understanding this takes away some of its power. It's not a personal failing, it's an evolutionary quirk. So, how do we tame this beast? One incredibly powerful technique is to directly answer the what-if question with a crucial follow-up, and if that happens, how would I cope? This isn't about inviting disaster, it's about robbing the unknown of its terror. Let's take that common worry, what if I lose my job? Instead of letting that thought fester into a full-blown panic attack about destitution, actively ask yourself, and if I did lose my job, how would I cope? Immediately, your brain shifts from panic mode to problem-solving mode. You might think, well, I'd update my resume, start networking, apply for unemployment benefits, cut down on unnecessary expenses, maybe even explore that side hustle I've been dreaming about. Suddenly, you've gone from a helpless victim of circumstance to a resourceful individual with a plan. This exercise illuminates your hidden resilience, reminding you that you've navigated tough situations before, and you have the capacity to do so again. It transforms vague, paralyzing fear into concrete, manageable action steps, even if those steps are just mental preparation. The monster shrinks when you shine a spotlight on your capabilities. Another vital shift is moving your focus from the imagined what if to the tangible what is. The what if monster thrives in the murky waters of an imagined future, often painting a worst-case scenario that exists only in your mind. But your power, your agency, lives in the present moment. Right now, what is happening? What are the facts? Take a deep breath. Look around you. Name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can feel, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. This simple grounding exercise pulls you out of the hypothetical future and anchors you firmly in the present. In this very moment, are you safe? Is your fear a reality, or is it a projection? More often than not, in the what is moment, the catastrophic what if is nowhere to be found. This isn't about ignoring problems, it's about acknowledging that most of our worries exist solely in the realm of future speculation, not present reality. When you repeatedly bring yourself back to the what is, you starve the what if monster of the attention it craves. Finally, let's become objective reality detectives. How often does that catastrophic what if scenario actually play out? Our brains, fueled by that negativity bias, tend to overestimate the probability of bad things happening. So, I challenge you to calculate the real, statistical probability of your feared outcome. Is it 1 in 10, 1 in 100, 1 in a million? For many of our what-if worries, especially the truly catastrophic ones like meteor strikes or sudden, unexplained public humiliation, the actual probability is astronomically low. We conflate possible with probable. Yes, it's possible for almost anything to happen, but is it probable? When you start to look at data, at actual track records, at common sense, you'll often find that your emotional brain has inflated the numbers dramatically. For example, if you're worried about failing an exam, what's your history with exams? Have you studied? What's the pass rate for this course? By bringing in objective facts, you inject rationality into an emotionally charged situation. You replace vague dread with concrete, evidence-based assessment. This isn't about denying risks entirely, but about seeing them for what they truly are, not what your anxious mind exaggerates them to be. Taming the what-if monster isn't about eliminating thoughts. It's about mastering how you engage with them, bringing them back to reality, and empowering yourself with competence and truth. It's a peculiar thing, isn't it? This burning desire for everything to be just right, for every detail to be flawless. On the surface, it sounds admirable, even noble. But dig a little deeper, and you'll often find that behind that pursuit of perfection lies a much more potent, much more destructive force, the fear of not being perfect. The fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of making a mistake. This fear becomes a heavy anchor, weighing down your intentions, transforming what should be productive energy into a relentless cycle of overthinking and, ultimately, procrastination. Think about it. How many times have you had an amazing idea, a project you wanted to start, a conversation you needed to have, but you just couldn't pull the trigger? You tell yourself you need more research, more time, more clarity. You tweak, you refine, you replan. And before you know it, days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and that brilliant idea remains exactly where it started in your head. It's a classic case of overthinking leading to inaction, all born from that unattainable standard of absolute perfection. But what if we could break free from this? What if we could redefine our relationship with our efforts? This is where the profound power of progress over perfection comes into play. It's not about settling for mediocrity, it's about understanding that actual movement, even imperfect movement, is infinitely more valuable than flawless stagnation. It's about giving ourselves permission to be human, to be messy, to just begin. Because the truth is, nothing truly great was ever perfect from its inception. Everything evolves. Everything starts somewhere. One of the most powerful mental shifts you can make, one that I've personally found transformative, is to stop chasing the impossible ideal and instead embrace the concept of good enough. Now, before you recoil, understand that good enough isn't a license for sloppiness. It's an active decision to release the chokehold of unrealistic expectations. It's about recognizing when a task has met its fundamental requirements and is ready for the next step, rather than endlessly polishing it into oblivion. It's about building momentum, piece by piece, rather than waiting for the entire magnificent edifice to appear fully formed. If you find yourself stuck in that perfectionist paralysis, I want to share an incredibly simple, yet surprisingly effective tool, the 2-minute rule. The premise is elegantly straightforward. If you're facing a task you're procrastinating on, simply commit to working on it for just 2 minutes. That's it. 2 minutes. The idea isn't to complete the task, but to break the inertia, to overcome the initial resistance. For instance, if you need to write a difficult email, just open your email client and type for 2 minutes. If you need to tidy your space, pick up just one thing for 2 minutes. What happens most of the time? Those 2 minutes often snowball into 5, then 10. Then you're suddenly deeply engaged, the initial hurdle completely forgotten. The 2-minute rule hacks your brain, tricking it into believing the task isn't as daunting as it initially seemed. It transforms the overwhelming "I need to write a perfect report" into the manageable "I'll just open the document and type for 2 minutes." Give it a try, you'll be amazed at how often it jumpstarts genuine progress. And what about those dreaded mistakes? The very thing that perfectionism tries so desperately to avoid. Here's a radical idea: mistakes aren't failures, they are invaluable data. Each misstep, each deviation from the intended path, isn't a sign of your inadequacy, but a crucial piece of feedback. It's information that tells you what doesn't work, allowing you to refine your approach, learn and grow. Think of scientists in a lab. Every failed experiment teaches them something vital, pushing them closer to discovery. Without mistakes, there's no learning. Without learning, there's no growth. Without growth, there's certainly no mastery. If you allow the fear of imperfection to keep you from acting, you also deny yourself the richest opportunities for learning and becoming better. So, let's reframe this: every perceived failure is a data point, an iteration, a step closer to wisdom. It's not a final judgment, but a temporary result in a much larger experiment called life. So, as we move forward, I encourage you to challenge that inner critic demanding absolute perfection. Embrace the liberating power of good enough. Prioritize progress over a mythical perfect outcome. Use tools like the 2-minute rule to kickstart your momentum. And most importantly, view every single mistake not as a setback, but as a priceless piece of information, guiding you, teaching you, and propelling you towards true mastery, not just of your tasks, but of your mind itself. Break free from the trap. Start acting. Start learning. Start living. If you've ever felt trapped in the quicksand of indecision, wrestling with choices big or small, this chapter is for you. We're diving into decisive action: how to make better, faster choices, breaking free from analysis paralysis. It's about shifting from perpetual pondering to powerful doing. First, let's tackle the perfection trap, or maximizing versus satisficing. Many of us, especially overthinkers, are secret maximizers. We strive for the absolute best choice, endlessly comparing, convinced one perfect solution exists. This relentless pursuit of perfection isn't just inefficient, it causes anxiety and, ironically, often leads to no decision at all. We become paralyzed by choice. Contrast this with satisficing. This isn't settling. It's finding a choice that meets your essential criteria, a good enough solution, then confidently moving forward. Think buying a new phone. A maximizer researches every spec for weeks. A satisficer identifies core needs, finds a model that fits, and buys it. They get a perfectly functional, effective phone. Good enough is often objectively fantastic, and infinitely better than perfect, but perpetually pending. It frees you from the mental treadmill to actually do. Next, impose a decision deadline. For overthinkers, an open-ended decision becomes an endless loop. Without a deadline, your mind churns indefinitely, always finding one more what if. Create a boundary. Set a specific, realistic time limit, proportional to importance. Small decisions get minutes, moderate, hours or a day, truly significant, a week or two, never months. Once the clock starts, your brain shifts from endless data gathering to active synthesis. It forces you to prioritize and accept a good enough solution within the time frame. This isn't rushing, it's respecting your mental energy, forcing closure. A deadline forces action. You've embraced satisficing and set your deadline. Now, blend logic and intuition. Overthinkers often lean heavily on logic, pros and cons, data. Logic is crucial, it helps us understand facts and outcomes. But don't neglect intuition. That gut feeling isn't mystical, it's your brain's rapid processing of vast information and past experiences, often subconscious. It's accumulated wisdom. Combine them first, do logical groundwork. Gather facts, weigh pros and cons. Think rationally, then pause. Step away. Ask yourself, does this feel right? Listen to that quiet voice. If logic points one way but your gut screams another, dig deeper. If both align, you have a powerful green light. Don't let pure logic always override that inner knowing. It's vital. Finally, the most liberating insight: most decisions are not permanent. The fear of making the wrong, irreversible choice is a huge paralyzing force. But how many life decisions are truly set in stone? Very few. You choose a career path, you can change jobs, pivot. A place to live, you can move. Even big financial decisions can be adjusted. This understanding frees you. It shifts your mindset from "I must make the perfect choice or my life is ruined" to "I will make the best choice I can right now with information I have, knowing I can adjust later." It's iterative action, like steering a boat. Make a correction, observe, adjust. The cost of delaying often outweighs an imperfect decision followed by course correction. Embrace flexibility, your decisiveness will soar. So, your toolkit for decisive action: stop maximizing, start satisficing. Impose clear decision deadlines. Blend sharp logic with insightful intuition. And crucially, remember, most decisions aren't permanent. You can always adjust your sails. Start practicing today, even with small choices. You'll be amazed how quickly you reclaim mental energy, moving from overthinking to empowered, confident action. Until next time, keep mastering your mind. Alright, let's talk about something incredibly frustrating: that feeling when worry just takes over. It's like a rogue thought, a dark cloud that just decides to park itself squarely in the middle of your perfectly good day, demanding all your attention. It whispers, it shouts, it spirals, and before you know it, you're lost in a labyrinth of what ifs and should haves, completely derailed from whatever you were actually doing. It feels like worry is in the driver's seat, doesn't it? Like it has a mind of its own, and you're just a passenger along for the anxiety ride. Well, what if I told you there's a counterintuitive strategy, a truly insightful shift in perspective, that allows you to wrestle back some of that control? It's not about ignoring worry entirely, because let's be honest, that rarely works. Instead, it's about giving it a dedicated, limited time and place. I call it the worry window technique. Here's the core idea: you're going to actively schedule a specific, short period each day, say 15 minutes, where you allow yourself to worry. Yes, you heard me right. You're scheduling worry. This might sound completely bonkers at first. Why would I choose to worry? Because by choosing when to do it, you inherently choose not to do it at other times. Think of it like this. You designate a 15-minute slot, maybe late afternoon, just before dinner, or whenever you find a quiet moment that suits your routine. This is your worry window. During the rest of your day, when those inevitable anxious thoughts pop up, and they will, don't worry about that. You don't engage with them. You don't unpack them. You don't let them hijack your focus. Instead, you do something incredibly powerful. You acknowledge the worry, give it a quick nod, and then you mentally or physically, which I highly recommend, jot it down. A quick note in a dedicated notebook, on a sticky note, or even a note app on your phone. Something like, remember to worry about that upcoming presentation, or add financial concerns to the worry list. And then, here's the magic command you tell yourself: not now. I will address this during my worry window. You are literally postponing the act of worrying. You're giving your brain a promise that it will get its turn to fret, just not right this second. So, what happens when your scheduled 15-minute worry window finally rolls around? This is where the real work and the real liberation happens. You grab your list of postponed worries. Instead of aimlessly spiraling, you now have a focused agenda. You look at each worry. Is this something I can actually do something about? If so, brainstorm solutions. What are the first concrete steps I can take? Break it down. Turn vague anxiety into actionable tasks. Perhaps it's emailing someone, doing research, making a phone call. If it's a worry you genuinely have no control over, which, let's be honest, many worries fall into that category, then your task within the window is to consciously practice acceptance, or to reframe your perspective. Can you surrender to the uncertainty? Can you focus on what you can control, even if it's just your own response? The profound insight here isn't just about making a to-do list for your anxieties. It's about something far more fundamental. It's about demonstrating to yourself, in a very tangible way, that while you might not always be able to stop the initial thought of worry from appearing, you absolutely can control your response to it. You can choose when you engage with it, and crucially, how you engage with it. This practice builds a powerful mental muscle. Every time you successfully postpone a worry, every time you guide it into its designated window, and every time you process it constructively, you are sending a clear message to your own brain: I am the one in charge here. Not you, worry. My time, my rules. It's an incredible step towards regaining true ownership of your mental landscape, moving from being a passive recipient of anxiety to an active manager of your thoughts. It brings a profound sense of calm and empowerment. You are literally mastering your mind, one worry window at a time. We tend to treat them separately, right? Our brain is up here, doing the heavy lifting, and our body is just carrying it around. That couldn't be further from the truth. Your body isn't just a vehicle, it's your brain's steadfast ally, a powerful tool in your quest. We've spent a lot of time dissecting the inner workings of our minds, trying to understand why we overthink and how to untangle those relentless thought loops. But today, I want to talk about something vital, often overlooked for mental clarity and control. This is Chapter 11, Your Body, Your Brain's Ally. Think about it. Have you ever tried to solve a complex problem on 3 hours of sleep, fueled by a terrible diet, feeling sluggish and wired all at once? It's like trying to run a marathon on a bicycle with flat tires. Our physical state dictates our mental capacity. Let's start with the big three, the non-negotiables: sleep, nutrition, and exercise. Sleep isn't a luxury, it's a pillar of mental regulation. When you skimp on sleep, your brain literally can't perform its essential maintenance. It impairs your ability to regulate emotions, make sound decisions, process information. You become irritable, prone to anxiety, and those overthinking spirals. They supercharge. Giving your brain its full night's rest is like recharging a high-performance computer. It needs downtime to defrag, update, reset. Then there's nutrition. What you put into your body directly fuels your brain. The gut-brain axis isn't just a fancy term. Your gut health has a direct line to your brain, influencing everything from neurotransmitter production to your energy levels. A diet heavy in processed foods, sugar, and unhealthy fats can lead to energy crashes, brain fog, and mood swings, making you susceptible to negative thought patterns. Conversely, a balanced diet rich in whole foods, healthy fats, and lean proteins provides a steady fuel source, promoting stable energy and a clearer mind. It's not about being perfect, it's about being mindful. And exercise? We often see it purely for fitness, but its mental health impact is revolutionary. Even a brisk 20-minute walk can be a game changer. Exercise releases endorphins, natural mood boosters, and helps reduce stress hormones. It's a natural antidepressant and anxiolytic. It improves blood flow to the brain, enhancing cognitive function and sharpening focus. So, when thoughts spin out of control, remember moving your body isn't just for your waistline, it's profound for your headspace. Which brings me to one of my favorite practical techniques, physical movement as a pattern interrupt. You know those moments when you're stuck in an overthinking loop, replaying conversations, catastrophizing? Your mind feels like a hamster wheel. The most powerful thing you can do at that exact moment is literally change your physical state. Get up. Go for a walk. Step outside. The simple act of moving, changing your environment, engaging your senses, the fresh air, the sights, the sounds, it breaks the circuit. It's not magic, it's neuroscience. You're literally forcing your brain to shift focus, breaking the thought loop's grip. Even standing up and stretching can create that crucial interruption. Now, let's talk about our environment. Have you ever noticed how a cluttered physical space often mirrors a cluttered mental space? I know I have. Piles of laundry, stacks of papers, a messy desk, it creates visual noise. Subtly, subconsciously, it demands attention, creating a low hum of overwhelm or unfinished business in your mind. It's harder to think clearly, to focus, to feel peaceful when your surroundings are chaotic. Conversely, a tidy, organized space can contribute to a sense of calm and clarity. You don't need to be a minimalist guru overnight, but 5 minutes to clear your workspace or make your bed can profoundly impact your mental state. It's a small victory that ripples inwards. Finally, we need to acknowledge the impact of modern stressors, stimulants, and digital overstimulation. Caffeine, for example. In moderation, it can boost focus. But too much, especially late in the day, can escalate anxiety, disrupt sleep, and trap you in a worse overthinking cycle. It's like hitting the accelerator when your car's already redlining. And digital overstimulation. Our phones, our laptops, the constant notifications, the endless scroll. Our brains weren't designed for this relentless barrage of information and instant gratification. It keeps us in hyper-arousal, making it difficult to settle, focus, truly relax. It fuels a restless, anxious mind. Creating intentional boundaries with our digital devices, designated screen-free times, turning off notifications, leaving your phone out of the bedroom isn't about deprivation, it's about giving your brain the quiet space it desperately needs to process and decompress. So, here's the takeaway: your body isn't just something you inhabit, it's an active, essential partner in your mental well-being. Nurturing your physical self, conscious sleep, mindful eating, regular movement, a tidy environment, smart digital habits isn't just about feeling good physically. It's a direct, powerful investment in mastering your mind, reducing overthinking, reclaiming your peace. Start small, be consistent, and watch how your body truly becomes your brain's greatest ally. Alright, we've journeyed through the intricate landscape of our minds, identifying overthinking traps and arming ourselves with practical strategies to regain control. But as we wrap up these core chapters, there's one final, absolutely critical piece to embed. It's the bedrock, the secret sauce that makes all other techniques stick long-term. And that, my friends, is the practice of self-compassion. Think of mind mastery not as a destination you arrive at, where suddenly you're enlightened and never have a negative thought again. That's a myth and frankly a recipe for frustration. Instead, it's an ongoing practice, a continuous dance with our inner world, and the most vital element in this dance: self-kindness. Now let's get something straight right off the bat. Self-compassion is not the same as self-esteem. We've been conditioned for so long to pursue self-esteem. That often means judging ourselves, constantly evaluating our worth based on how well we perform, how much we achieve, how others perceive us. It's a fragile, conditional kind of self-worth. If you fail, your self-esteem takes a hit. If you succeed, it gets a boost. It's like being on an emotional seesaw. Self-compassion, though, is different. It's about being kind to yourself unconditionally. It's treating yourself with the same warmth, understanding, and patience you would offer a dear friend who's struggling. It acknowledges your imperfections, your struggles, your very humanness, without judgment. It's recognizing that suffering and imperfection are part of the shared human experience, not something to be ashamed of or criticized for. With self-compassion, your worth isn't tied to performance, it's inherent. So, when those difficult moments inevitably arise, and they will, because life is messy, how do we actively practice this? I want to give you a simple, powerful mantra to keep in your back pocket. When you're overwhelmed, feeling stuck in an overthinking loop, or just having a really tough day, try this. This is hard. I am doing my best. Just a few words. This is hard. I am doing my best. Say it to yourself. Whisper it. Let it sink in. It's not about denying the difficulty. It's about acknowledging it with kindness. It's not about achieving perfection. It's about validating your effort in the face of struggle. It's a gentle reminder that you're showing up, even when it feels impossible. And let's be super clear about something else. You will have overthinking days. You will have days where the thoughts feel chaotic again, where old patterns resurface, where you might feel like you're back at square one. This is not a sign of failure. It is, in fact, a perfectly normal part of the process. It's a testament to the fact that you're human, and that mind mastery is indeed a practice, not a destination. The goal isn't to eradicate overthinking, it's to develop the tools and self-compassion to navigate those days with more grace, recover quickly, and avoid self-criticism. Think of it as a momentary detour, not a complete U-turn. Because ultimately, what truly matters for long-term success in mastering your mind isn't flawless performance. It's consistent effort, paired with immense self-kindness. We often wait for big dramatic victories to pat ourselves on the back. But I want to encourage you to celebrate the small victories, the tiny moments where you caught an overthinking spiral and gently redirected it. The decision to take a breath instead of reacting. The choice to even just try one of these techniques, however imperfectly. Each small step, each conscious effort, is a victory. It reinforces the habit, builds resilience, and reminds you that you are showing up. Don't demand perfection, demand presence and consistent, compassionate effort. That's where true, lasting change happens. Self-compassion isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. It's the gentle hand that guides you when you stumble, the quiet voice that reminds you of your inherent worth, even when your mind is being its messiest. It's the most powerful tool for long-term mind mastery, ensuring that your journey is one of growth, resilience, and profound self-kindness. Keep practicing. Keep being kind to yourself. You're doing amazing.